So you just wrote a big drum fill. Let me show you how to use it.
Freebie.
Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome to Freebeat, where I post new music-related content every single day, so if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Let's get started. I'm really excited for today's video because not only are we back on a pocket operator, but we're going to cover one of my favorite concepts in all of music, rhythmic foreshadowing. So like I mentioned in the intro, today we're going to be focusing on taking a big drum fill and then reverse engineering it so that by the time we get to that fill in our song, it makes sense and the listener is sort of expecting it. And we're going to do that by using rhythmic foreshadowing. So basically I'm going to play you guys two patterns here, and the second pattern has a pretty good sized drum fill in it. Let's listen. So that fill is very, very noticeable. It's so noticeable, in fact, that if we were to bombard our listener with that right off the bat in our track, it probably wouldn't go over so well. So instead what we want to do is build up to that fill throughout our song. And we do that by breaking it down. We're going to reverse engineer it. We're going to remove certain elements. So at the beginning of our song, the fill is just maybe one or two notes. And we keep coming back to that fill and building on it until by the end, our listener is expecting the full fill because we keep hinting towards it. So let's figure out how to do that. By the way, this works on any drum machine, or if you're just a drummer, you can do this live playing as well. So anyway, got the pattern here on 16 with the fill in it. I'm just going to copy it into like slot 9 here. And yeah, let's go ahead and work from there. So we can hear it's pretty busy, so let's actually take a peek at it here. We've got a kick drum on 1, on 3, on the of 3 and the and of 4. We've got a snare drum on 2, on the E and the and of 3, and then on the downbeat, the 1, the and the of 4. That's probably where we're gonna most mess with our fill. Those are the only two elements in the fill. As you can see, the hi-hat cuts out before the fill actually starts. So let's go and work with the snare drum first. So we've got doom ch ch bop 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 bop. So we only want to take away a little of this because we're reverse engineering, if that makes sense. We're going backwards. So this will be the fill that appears before the big one. So we notice these last two notes here I've got double triggered. So the first thing we can do is take off those double triggers and then put them back in there as single triggers. Now it already sounds a little bit calmer. Next, let's go to our kick drum and take off the kick drum on the E of 4. That's pretty good. Now let's listen to them together and we can hear how it builds. Hear that? So as we write our song, we can downgrade the fill, as we move backwards, so it works in chronological order for the listener. So now let's copy the downgraded one into another slot here. Let's remove something else. I don't like that kick drum there on the of 3. Let's remove that. I think that's a pretty good change right there, actually. Let's listen to these three in order now. Yeah, that's a pretty good evolution. If I was a listener, that would please me sonically quite a bit, I think. So let's copy that last one that we did there and move that back one. Find something else to remove. Let's go to the snare drum. Let's remove the one on the of 4. That's pretty good. If we wanted a little more punch in there, depending on where it is in our song, we could add a kick drum on the and of 4 as well. There we go. That's pretty good, and I don't think that will detract from the rest of these fills. That's one thing that's important, is when you're deconstructing, moving backwards, if you do wind up adding something, it can't distract from what happens to the fill as the song progresses, if that makes sense. I think that's a pretty nice progression there. So that's 4 different fills. That should be enough for most standard songs. And you could have a couple, other fills in there that you do this with if you need, like 12 or 16 fills. That seems like a lot for a normal song anyway on a pocket operator. But if you need that, you could do that. But let's break it down even further. Let's take this and find another element to remove. And I think I know where I want to touch it. Snare drum. Let's go ahead and get rid of this snare drum on the E of 3. And if I'm confusing it with that, on any 16-step sequencer or 16-step beat, which would be one measure of 4/4, we count our beats as 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So that's where I'm getting those little E's and ands and uhs. So let's listen to this. That's pretty simple. Now let's see what would happen if we added the snare drum back on the of 4. And then let's progress that to our next fill. Now I think that works because they are both variances of the exact same thing. They just have a few snare drum hits in different places. And what's cool is our final fill actually has both of those snare drum hits. So that's pretty cool. Again, that really plays into the foreshadowing part. We're really trying to build an image in our listener's head that leads them to expect this final fill. So when they finally get it, when you finally give it to them, it feels really good. And it's kind of like a musical, sigh of relief almost, because you keep wanting that fill. It keeps building towards it. And every time the passage comes around or wherever the fill's going to go, the listener's like, oh, is that fill coming now? How are they going to expand it? Is it going to be what I think it is? It's a really fun game to play with your listener. So here's all 5 fills together. There you go. So feel free to watch this video as many times as you need, pause, rewind, go back to places, because I'm not sure if I did the best job explaining it, but I really wanted you guys to just hear the evolution of these patterns and how you can start with the final pattern and then work your way backwards. Now, if you start with a basic pattern, you can evolve it in chronological order as you're writing the song, but in my experience, it can be a little harder to wind up with a final result that you like. I like to usually write the drums last, at least the final drum parts, and start with the big fill and then work my way backwards. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and leave a like on it. If not, you can leave a dislike. That's okay too. Doesn't hurt my feelings, just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.